Although the Blackout free trial is now over, there is a new event that just started to replace it, plus more to discuss here in the Call of Duty news. There was an update released on Tuesday which started the new Barbarian special event, which I guess Treyarch landed on this idea as the theme probably because they're easy ports from the character models in the Zombies Map 9 and those in the ridiculously overpriced Blackjack special orders now that the Dia de los Muertos theme has been overexploited to fuck. And instead they moved on to Gladiators. This new event is now only available on the PS4, the superior platform on the basis of monetary compensation only to Activision spelled with a $, and will end in 27 days for yours truly on February 17th. There are 25 tiers to complete, culminating with the new, and by new I mean a weapon from a game Black Ops 2, since Treyarch knows that nostalgia is a hell of a drug, with the Kap45 now somehow even more powerful than its initial incarnation, despite it being nerfed in the prior game more than once. The weapon was leaked via PC game files earlier last week, and of course, since this is Treyarch we're talking about after all, they just released a hotfix yesterday to patch a bug whereby you couldn't put any attachments on the weapon at all. I'm so glad that they fired some QA testers that took an already delayed to the point of being against the law lunch break at the wrong time. The event will begin on January 29th for the PC and Xbox One, which also gets the gauntlets and new elixirs for the zombies mode, as well as the down but not out Blackout mode, which were available last week on the PS4 because of that 7-day exclusivity nonsense that somehow still happens in this day and age. Correction on the prior statement, since PC patches always are somehow behind console ones in spite of less barriers to getting those fixes applied, those new zombies features aren't yet available, and that event will probably start late despite ending on time, since even though Treyarch promised PC a fair shake this time around, it's really just been business as usual and they lied like a Persian rug. Onto the not platform specific fixes, as for multiplayer, Chaos Domination is back with a 3-second capture time, round and game limits increased to 150 and 300 respectively, with a quote chaotic 6v6 that was the de facto standard for years. Treyarch also finally added the 2 new maps, Madagascar and Elevation, to the regular rotation after trying to last week and unspectacularly somehow fucked up how DLC has worked for the last 11 years, although the entire premise of segregating the community into haves and have-nots is anachronistic in 2019, but judging on those yellow indicators from the last oopsie, it seems that there aren't that many idiots paying for less value than in the past anymore. Other than that, it's just mostly minor bug fixes and making sure that the game doesn't crash harder than the stock market in 2008. There's still no news on Black Ops 4's League play or any of the other competitive features, in spite of the fact that there was a CWL Pro League qualifier tournament this past weekend, which allowed some lesser known teams to actually get into the CWL Pro League to compete in those tournaments where the microtransaction money that isn't pocketed by execs go to. Without these features, there's no buzz around these types of events because plebs don't even know about them, so congratulations Treyarch, you played yourself. In addition to the Kap40 found in files, the Call of Duty companion app accidentally leaked a new Blackout mode called Ambush that features only sniper rifles and melee weapons, which should be an absolute joy to play with, along with some 200 IQ strats that in the description states Skulker and Dead Silence got a lot more valuable, and keep your eyes peeled for Outlander too, because the circle never stops to collapse, so it'll be interesting to see if we get the small circle off to start the game or if it'll just go incrementally with it not stopping. Treyarch then confirmed on Reddit that this will be the next limited time mode in Blackout after the down but not out mode is over. Speaking of Blackout, Vahn took to Twitter to discuss some upcoming things in the coming soon black hole. Nerfs to concussion grenades, again, to have their effects on victims be a sliding scale instead of an O-Town all-or-nothing approach, which isn't even the biggest issue with the concussions. It's the fact that you're essentially a sitting duck with the hands up don't shoot position if you get hit with it, similar to what happens with the 9-bags. There's additional item tweaks also coming to cluster grenades and armor, with a proposition of having level 3 armor take 2 shards per repair instead of 1 for the much maligned piece of gear, along with having its protection also nerfed. EMP grenades, which were added with the Operation Absolute Zero in the form of Disruptor, are being evaluated for their inclusion and functionality in the Battle Royale mode, according to Vahn's reply on a Reddit thread with suggestions for how it should behave. So it obviously seems that Vonderhaar is always on Twitter and or Reddit talking about Blackout, so it should come as absolutely no surprise to anybody that according to the Call of Duty Tracker website, his PSN DJ_Vahn has 323 games played of Blackout, but 0 for both multiplayer and zombies. There's a lot of people that are trying to make this into a controversy, but it's really a non-controversy. Firstly, it was highly rumored that Black Ops 3 was his last multiplayer game after the supply drop fuckery that Activision pulled by locking game-altering weapons behind an RNG wall, because he was certainly not happy about the decision, even taking a week of vacation shortly after the announcement. So this certainly rings true, as he's not working on Black Ops 4's multiplayer, but instead the Blackout mode. Second, if Vahn was in fact part of development for the multiplayer part of the game, wouldn't you want him playing and developing on the internal studio builds more so than the down-level one that's out in the wild? As someone whose job is a computer programmer and have been both a developer and function tester, as a developer you're always working with up-level versions of whatever is currently available in mass, and as a tester you're always working on something that's closer to the customer experience, or at least a more down-level version than the developer, because they've already done at least a first-pass test of their own code. Sure, developers do have to have some sort of client-level experience in order to understand their pain points, but the majority of the time they're working on a completely different build than the production one. Third, I'm sure Vahn has some IRL friends. Actually, I'm making a big assumption here, but maybe those friends like Blackout more so than multiplayer, so that's where he spends his time. I know I don't really play Blackout much because I'd rather play PUBG if I'm going to play a more realistic battle royale game, and so do most of my gaming buddies, so that's why I have more multiplayer time under my belt than Blackout. Fourth, isn't it obvious from just playing the fucking game itself that after PUBG became a Borat great success in mid-2017, where the development resources for this game were shuffled off to? Even in the last Treyarch livestream where they introduced the Black Ops Pass content, former multiplayer staples Dan Bunting and David Vonderhaar were both relegated to the Blackout portion of the show, whereas they wheeled out some BK Randy to talk about the new multiplayer maps. Vahn doesn't even play multiplayer because that's not where the buzz for this game has come from. It's come from the Blackout portion, so of course Treyarch is going to stick their big guns on the part of the game that matters most to Activision's investors. What should be a bigger controversy, however, is the absolute shite that's being sold in Blackjack Shop, more specifically gun reticles. This was first stirred up when Activision had the audacity to sell a basic hollowed out red dot ring for 100 COD points or $1. More recently, there has been a smiley face reticle for 200 COD points or $2, which is something that was unlocked via actually playing the fucking game in the case of Black Ops 3, and goes all the way back to the original Black Ops, back when COD points were an in-game currency and not a way for Activision to nickel and dime their customers. I guess it's not just maps that Treyarch has decided to lift from a 9-year-old game to monetize in the current one. Those gripes I mentioned are simply just greed. However, when you dig a little deeper, this smiley reticle that shows up in the Blackjack Shop is actually different than what you get when you play the game. In the shop, the preview is a pink face with cheek lines at the tips of the smile and a shaded area in the center of the reticle, which is helpful in order to get your aim right. However, in the game, it's actually a green smiley. It doesn't have the cheek lines, and that shaded center area is just nowhere to be found. Nor is there a way to alter the color of the reticle to the pink that's advertised, which is a big middle finger to the visually impaired, because green and red are the biggest offenders for color blindness. This isn't the first time a reticle has been falsely advertised, as the pincer reticle is advertised with a green reticle, a cheeky face, and more importantly, a crosshair at the tip of the bullet where you'd actually want to have your weapon aimed, versus the then in-game version that's blue, looks like pixelated fucking bukkake, and doesn't have that important crosshair at the top of the bullet, so it's tougher to actually use the sight in practicality terms. Not to mention, this is also a blast from the past reticle that was in Black Ops 2, albeit in the Kawaii personalization pack, which now seems like a steal at $2.99 for a camo that's able to be put on all weapons, a calling card emblem, and this reticle. At least Treyarch seems to acknowledge the last oopsie on Reddit, but there's no ETA or even resolution posted. This false advertisement of items in-game that you pay actual money with, and seeming lack of attention to detail on these, is actually a controversy akin to when camos in Infinite Warfare looked like the fridge drawings of the developer's children in kindergarten instead of someone with actual Photoshop experience. Maybe it's because the consoles are so goddamn obsolete that they can't even handle basic textures, but having the wrong colors and even missing features to make these reticles actually useful is unacceptable. Personally, I don't understand why you'd ever want to have one of these beepity bops that obfuscates your view more than it does to help you actually win gunfights, but hey, at least this isn't something that gives players a pay-to-win advantage, right? Baby steps with Activision. Anyways, let me know what you think down below. I've been the Schwans27, out like a Soldier Boy console. Until next time.